But real quick, if you want to be a member, then go ahead and talk to JT during the meeting. Just go ahead and come on up. He's sitting right here. If you have cash, he can give you a receipt and take down your information. And if you don't have cash but you still want to be a member, he can put you on a list. This week we are going to be doing an introduction to Linux. So if you've never used Linux before, that's fine. Even if you just need a refresher on how to use the command line, we're also going to be doing that. So we still have plenty of pizza. Feel free to get more if you want. Okay, so real quick, who here has never been to Swift before? Awesome. Okay. Trolls, we'll take care of you later. So Swift is a technology club. We do a wide variety of things. I know that sounds sort of general and non-specific, but basically we do a lot of hardware, we do a lot of software, networking, security. We have hands-on workshops. We have weekly meetings on Tuesday. So, and one of the major focuses of our club is Linux. Pretty much everybody on eBoard uses Linux. As most of them use it as their primary. Some use it with Windows. So, real quick announcements. Membership, we're still taking membership. So it's $30 for the whole year. Why would you want to be a member? So that you can participate in members-only functions, the raffle. It also helps us pay for pizza. So if you're into altruism.
Workshops.
There's seats up here in the front if you want. There's still a lot of room, so come on in. Yeah, workshops often are members only. Another announcement is the Dropbox Great Space Race. If you Google that, it'll take you to a Dropbox page and you enter in your Cal Poly email and you get 3 gigs for 2 years? Yes, 3 gig space free on Dropbox for 2 years. And if a whole bunch of people, basically if Cal Poly has the most, it gets a huge amount of space. So, that's cool. And the third announcement that's not up on the board, but is perhaps the most important, is not this coming Friday, but next Friday, October 26th, is going to be a soldering workshop night. So Swift is going to be taking 20 people to Null Space Labs, which is a hackerspace, and there we're going to have a soldering tutorial. So basically you'll come, show up. If you've never had any experience, that's fine. We'll teach you how to solder, and we'll give you a little thing to practice soldering on. The only caveat is that is a members-only function. So if you're interested in that, but you're not a member, that's fine. Please talk to JT. He can sign you up.
What if I really want to pay with PayPal?
Then talk to JT.
Can I pay with PayPal?
Yes. Talk to JT.
Yes? Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Pay me with PayPal. We don't accept your fees.
Yeah, so if you're interested in the NSL soldering workshop, send me an email. We only have 20 spots, so please RSVP as soon as possible. Yeah, and then that'll be 7 o'clock on Friday, October 26th. Okay, so really briefly, who has never heard of Linux before? Okay. So who has never used Linux before?
I've driven one.
Okay. Linux is an operating system. It's a lot like Windows. It is an operating system like Windows. It's not like Windows. And it was written and released by Linus Torvalds in October 1991. So it's only slightly younger than I am. It is free and open source. So basically what that means is that anyone can download it for free, and they have access to the code that compiles the kernel and the rest of the operating system, and it's all available on the web for free, unless you're Red Hat. So it's under the GNU General Public License. There's a lot of meanings to that. You can look it up. That's a whole talk in itself. But there's a whole bunch of different kinds, flavors or distros. Basically what happened was people were, they were like, hey, this is cool, but it's not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to write my own distribution and change it to the way that I like. And so here's a sample of a bunch. The most well-known is Ubuntu. Probably everybody has at least marginally heard of Ubuntu. Red Hat's on there, Fedora's on there, Gentoo. I don't see Arch up there. That's the one that a lot of Swift people use, is Arch. So here's a simple flowchart. It's not that simple, that's why that's funny. Thanks for the pity laughs. But it's difficult to see. I know it's very tiny, but up at the top is Unix, which was a very, very old operating system. It branched off into BSD, which also branched off into Sun OS. And over here in the corner, you can see Linux 0.0.1, which is what Linus Torvalds originally released in October 1991. So it has a long history, and now there's more distributions than I can count. Okay, so Linux structure. How does it work? It's a text-based operating system, so instead of everything being in binaries, generally most configuration files, any sort of files that you need to access are text files. And it's designed to parse and then operate on those text files, which is pretty cool because you have access to a lot more of the system. So it's simplicity plus functionality. So it's designed to be straightforwards and make sense. It doesn't always come out that way because of the fact that it's free and open source. Anybody can change it however they like, and what you consider straightforwards may not be straightforwards for everybody else, but generally this is the idea, and it's incredibly functional. Linux is used on, correct me on my numbers, but I believe it's more than 90% of servers, and, right. Yeah, so basically Linux is used on most industry servers as well as used by an incredibly high percentage of researchers in the scientific community, simply because it's so useful for scripting, which we'll talk about later. So it also has man pages. The cool part about man pages is that they're manual pages containing all the information that you need to know about that program ever. Basically, generally the person who wrote the program wrote the man page as well. Now you might be wondering why I have pictures of men. That has nothing to do with man pages. That's Linus Torvalds on the left, and on the right is Richard Stallman. Richard Stallman was also another sort of a father figure of the GNU Linux community. So I thought, at least you know what they look like. Try not to look like Richard Stallman. Okay, so really fast, I'm going to go over basic Linux commands. For anyone who went to InstallFest. Okay, cool. A good number of you, so a lot of you now have Linux on your system. These are the basic commands of Linux. So I'm going to go over them really briefly, but so ls is for listing files, print working directory, change directory, move, copy, cat, remove, make dir, and touch. So these are all things that you would do in Windows. But instead, this is a command line way of doing it. So, print working directory prints where you are currently. It's generally the first thing that I type in. So if I'm on a system, I don't know what's going on. I need to know where I am. Sometimes it's displayed in bash, but if you're not using bash, which is a command prompt, then you need to know where you are. You can also type "who am I?" to see what your username is. I'm going to try to do some demos really fast. I was going to do it on... Yeah, that's what I was doing. That would just break everything.
Really, really long UI.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm bringing up a terminal emulator. And I'm logging in. So basically I'm logging in through SSH. SSH is secure shell. And it's a way that you can use encryption to talk to another command line interface on a different machine. So log in really fast. That helps when you put in the right password. Okay. So this is what command line looks like. This is going to be a pain in the butt because no one can see it.
To make it bigger.
Yep. Does that work? No, it doesn't.
Go for it.
Change settings?
Change settings, window appearance,
You know this one.
change the font right there. Font settings.
I see it. I see it.
Make a change.
Because I never use Windows. That's why.
Okay. Can everybody read that? Sort of, kind of.
Enough.
I can't. It says green.
Okay. So nobody falls asleep on me now. I know it's a nice, relaxed environment. So this is what command line looks like. So this is not scary. I know a lot of people are like, command line. It's actually not scary. It's pretty easy to use. For people just coming in, there are still seats up front, and there's 1 or 2 seats here in the rows, so feel free to come forward. There's also more pizza if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and type print working directory just so you can see that. Okay, so it printed out where I was. So basically what this is showing in batch is my username, and then at the host name, tilde, which is the location that I'm at, and then $sign. The $sign is basically saying that I'm a user and not root. So let's go ahead and go back to here. Okay, so ls. ls is list files. ls-a is list all files. So all commands generally have some sort of flag, which is dash, and then a letter or word which specifies the flag. Flags basically modify how the command interacts with what you're working on. So if you do just straight ls, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, maybe I should change to a directory that has stuff in it. So what I did is I switched to the / directory and printed all the things that are in that directory. So it basically just puts a list of files there, right? So now if I do ls-a, it prints all the files, including hidden files. So files with a dot in front are hidden. And then it also hides dot and dot dot. I'll explain what that means in a little bit. So if I do ls-l, it puts it in list format. So it tells me the permissions up front, and then some more stuff, which isn't important, and then the date and the time that it was created and what it's called. Or is that last modified? I think it's last modified.
What?
The date that's displayed, is it last modified or created? Yeah. So and then so if I combine those two, ls-la, it prints everything, including the hidden files, in a list format. So you'll notice here the difference is it's got dot and dot dot, which were hidden before because they have dots in front of them. So if I change directory to my home folder, which
You can do by type.
yes, I'm going through the process slowly. If I do ls, there's nothing here, right? This is what happened before. If I do ls-la, there's stuff here because all of these files are hidden because they have dots in front of them. Okay? So I'm trying to go through this quickly. If you're feeling lost, don't worry. It takes some time to get used to it. We're going to put these slides up on the website so you can go back through them at your own leisure and kind of play with the commands. I just want to give everybody a broad idea of how things work. So, and then ls-h is human readable sizes on the files. Okay, cd is change directory. You guys saw me do that a couple times already. So, basically the way the command structure is cd and then the path to a new directory. So for those of you who haven't used paths too much, it's basically the location of the file that you're at, right? So in Windows, the GUI is you just click on it, because you can see it and you're in the file structure, right? In Linux, when you're using command line, you don't necessarily see that file structure that way, and so you have to have a path. It just points to where the file is in the file structure. Slash means the root directory. The root directory is basically the highest level. It's like my computer on Windows. There's nothing higher than slash. Everything is under slash. So if I were to go to slash, so really briefly, dot means current directory. So that's why in that file structure it had dot and dot dot. Dot is you're here, and dot dot means the directory just above that. So if you want to change to the directory just above where you are, you would type cd space dot dot. And then, so down here at the bottom it's got slash file slash another file. That's an absolute path. An absolute path is one that starts from the root directory. So the difference between slash file slash another file and file slash another file is that file slash another file could be anywhere in the current file structure. So it won't go to another file unless you're in slash. It's confusing. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to cd to slash and then ls. Okay, so these are all the files that are in slash. This is again the root directory. So I can cd to slash bin. Right now, if I tab complete, so tab completion is basically the system is trying to figure out what you're trying to type. So if you're typing a command and you hit tab, and it knows if there's only like one command that looks like that, it'll finish it for you. If you hit tab twice, it'll try to guess what you're going to say. Since I'm cding to a directory, it's like, oh, he's trying to go to a file somewhere. So if I tap tab, it'll tell me what files are in the directory structure that I'm in at the moment. So I want to go to bin, and then tap tab, and there's nothing. So these are all the files that are in bin. Alright, so if I try to go to bin again, it won't let me because I'm not in slash. The only way I can go to bin is if I'm in slash. So I just cd to the directory I was in, but okay. So if you type cd with no arguments, it takes you to your home folder. Home folder is basically where all of your files are stored. So it's home slash and then your username. My username is funsize. Okay. So in the interest of time, I'm going to have to go a little quicker. But basically, move allows you to move files around from place to place. And you can do that with directories using flags. CP allows you to do the same thing, but instead of moving the file, it just copies it. The cool part about move or CP is that you can actually change file names. So that's how you change a file name in Linux, is you say move, and then the file name, and then the new file name, and it's basically moving that folder to the same location with a different name. RM is remove. So it has flags, so you go file directory to remove. You can use R for recursive, F for force. So rm tac rf, tac is another word for dash. So rm dash rf deletes everything in your current specified folder. So if you do rm tac rf slash, you've deleted everything. So you shouldn't do that unless you're trying to destroy a system. Okay, make directory and touch. Make directory, you specify a path and then a file or a directory name, and it'll make it for you. And then touch is you can make files. So
Date on file. It's updated, modified date on file.
yeah, you can. Okay, you can do that as well. Simple, Swiss. Simple. Mount is you can mount. Mounting is where you're essentially telling the file system where to access the path of a device, so like a hard drive or a flash drive, and you're referencing that in the system. So this is basic slash files. I know this is hard to read, especially when I don't maximize it. Okay, very briefly, /dev is where it holds all the devices. So there is a file that references all the devices on your computer. So if you go into Linux and you type ls/dev, it'll print out everything connected to your computer. /lib, you keep code libraries. Mount is it just allows you to mount things there, so hard drives, flash drives. /bin is where many basic utilities are kept, kind of old style utilities. I think ls is still in bin. sbin is a more modern bin.
What? Super user bin?
Okay, that too. Well,
No,
don't they also have
that's
utilities?
That's it, it's only in the super user path.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I learned something new. /user is where user files are kept. So, I don't know what that slide says.
That's supposed to be.
Yeah, bin, and then lib and source as well. /var is log files and www, which is where you keep the files you're putting up on a web server. Etsy is a miscellaneous pile of stuff. Temp is temporary files. Boot is for boot files. Home is where all your user data is stored. And /media is where most desktop environments auto-mount CDs and SD cards. And then /root is like /home, but for root. So next we're going to have Suri come up and talk about bash scripting. So, I'm sure she'll talk more about bash scripting, but basically, bash is, I'm sorry?
Born again shell.
Yes, thank you. It stands for Born Again Shell. It's a shell, so it's basically how you interface with the terminal. So we're in bash right now, and it has scripting abilities. So basically, you can write small files that are text files with commands in it, and it will run those commands sequentially. And so you can do really big scripts and programs with them. So I'll turn the floor over to Sari.
Alright, hi guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about bash scripting. So bash scripting, basically bash stands for Born Again Shell. And what is it? So first of all, what is a script? Well, according to Webster's dictionary, it's a writing or a written document. And a shell script is basically kind of like that. It's basically stuff that is written, but it basically takes a whole bunch of different commands that Zach just went over. You could do like your basic system commands, and it makes it easier for a system administrator to execute repetitive tasks, and you can do a lot of customization, so it's like basically a program. Yeah. So how does it start? You usually start off with a shebang, which is the hash symbol or pound sign, and the exclamation mark. So that's placed at the head of the script, and it tells your system that this file is a set of commands to be fed to the command interpreter indicated. So in this case, it would be shebang/bin/bash, or it would be something else if you use a different command interpreter. So let's say you wrote your bash script and it does this thing. But after that, you save it, then you have to execute it. Usually, it's not just going to run just like as it is. So you're going to have to change the permissions. So you use the chmod command, and here I have chmod +x, and then the name of your script. So after that, it changes it so it makes it executable. And you simply execute your script using /. So // then your file, your script. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do a simple demo. All right, so once again, here is my working path. Alright. Okay, so, I'm gonna go ahead and go in my test directory here. Oops. So I'm gonna change directory to test. Currently I have a few things in there. And so I'm just gonna start off by doing a simple one. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Vim as my text editor. So let's call it test.sh. So we go ahead and start off with the shebang line. And I'm just gonna, this is comments usually start with a pound sign, so, or hash sign. So this is a comment. This script will echo hello world. So, echo and hello world. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And now if we look here, you see you've got,
It's in white between the green and
oh, I called it text, okay. So here you see that, you see the permissions here. And here you can see that it doesn't have executable privileges, so we're gonna go ahead and use chmod plus x test.sh. So now I'm gonna go ahead and run it. And in there it's echoing hello world. So echo just basically prints out what I had as the quotation marks. Some other ones, the other one I did, okay, you can also do like conditions, basically like any other programming language. So we'll take a look at this one right here. So in here, it basically, I have the variable a, and I set that equal to 10. So if a is greater than 0, then I'm going to go on to the next statement here, or condition. So if a is less than 5, it's supposed to print out the value of a, like somewhere between 0 and 5. But, so let me change this so that it's 3, so that is true in this scenario. And let's go ahead and run that. So it should print out that sentence. So the value of a lies somewhere between 0 and 5, that's true. So let's see what happens if I make that a number greater than 5. So let's make that 10, oops. So now it shouldn't print anything, and it doesn't. So that's basically my short, simple example for now.
Okay, next, Jason.
Okay.
So, also, just one note of business. If you signed up and paid for membership already, but we didn't get your Bronco ID, please come down and give it to JT. We've got about 10 people who we didn't get Bronco IDs from, and we need that for MyBar. If anybody's used MyBar, it requires Bronco IDs. So, if you could talk to JT after the meeting, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm doing the introduction to Screen and IRSSI, or the good way to use IRC. How many of you know what IRC is? Okay.
That's how we talk about
Uh,
I love that root beer.
IRC is an internet relay chat. It's a low-level chat protocol. Allows you to chat. This is a screenshot actually that's from Pound Swift. Don't go there if you're unless you're a bad person. Yeah.
If you're a bad person.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. So we're gonna use PuTTY. Everyone should have you can log into login dot, and this is on the slides, so csumona.edu. And then you use your Bronco name and password. And you can get in. And
Jason, who has these accounts on?
I'm pretty sure all students do.
Yep.
So everyone should have one. So that's how we get into that. We're going to use the login server. We're going to use IRSSI on the login server to connect to the IRC server, and and then we're going to leave that connection running. And then Screen is a terminal emulator, basically that we're using within the PuTTY terminal emulator. It allows you to keep programs running even after you close the PuTTY session. Normally when you close your SSH session, anything you had running gets killed, but if it's running in Screen, it will keep going, and then you can reconnect to it when you log back in with the Screen-DR flags. And what we're going to use this with is IRSSI, which is an IRC client. It's quite versatile. You can set it up to do a lot of the configuration stuff automatically, which I will get into if I have time. I should have time. Connect, use this. All the commands for IRSSI start with the slash. That's how IRSSI knows it's a command. So /connect to connect to a server, /join to join a channel. /help is your friend. Will tell you everything you need to know to use IRSSI's commands. It'll list the commands, it'll tell you more about them. Okay, so we're going to start that. Hold on, just make sure I get rid of my fancy configuration file so I can show you what I want to show you. Gone. Okay. I saved it already. So he goes Screen IRSSI. That's we're gonna run IRSSI inside Screen. This is what when you start IRSSI, this is what you get. You can do /connect irc.freenode.net, and that's on a later slide. I just connected to show you some of the stuff. So we're now connecting. So you need to pick a NIC, which is what you're going to go by on IRC. Pick one and stay with it. And it's best if you register with Freenode so other people don't use it. These are the commands. The command to register your NIC, and then that link doesn't show up very well, but there's a link to the Freenode FAQ that has more information on registering and NIC and all that. You want your default IRSSI configuration on the Cal Poly login servers has your Bronco name and your real name in it, which you really don't want that on there, so you should get rid of that. We try this who is, and you don't actually have to do your NIC if it's for you, but who is, and notice it's telling me my NIC is J. Albert, but and notice it's got my NIC, and then this is my IRC username and my real name. And you don't really want that on there. If you go in #Swift with that stuff still on there, there are people who will post everything they can find about you from the Cal Poly servers into the channel. It's kind of embarrassing. I had it happen to me when I was a noob. And then
Try
I
it
fixed
out.
it.
You should try it out right now.
But,
Just so we can see what it looks like.
so,
Don't want to see.
no. If you use the command /set, it will list all of the configuration stuff that you can have set. Down at the bottom here, we have nick, which is the default nick that it will use, real name, and username. So if you set nick to JSON HLBR5 is my nick, and then use the underscore so that Nixer doesn't get mad at me. I don't have to deal with that. And I set, forgot the slash, set user underscore name. And you can set it to whatever you want. I just set all three of these to my nick. Some of the other people on keyboard do some silly things like set their real name to your mom. But I just set them all to this, and then set, and you can do tab completion in here as well. So once you do that, then you do /save. We'll write the configuration information to the config file. And then I don't think this would work right. If I do go back to who is, yeah, it hasn't changed. You have to, for whatever reason, the reload doesn't seem to work. You have to quit and then start it again. Reconnect, because you don't have a nick until you connect.
Got the
Free now.
Thank you. /who is me. Wait for it to catch up. There we go. And now you don't have my name in there anymore. So you should do that, and you should save the configuration with. It doesn't really matter. They don't all have to be your nick. And if you really want to, you can even leave your first name in there. Just please get rid of your last name and your Bronco name. Shut up, Swiss. Anyway, there's trolls on there. So this is where Swift is. We are on Freedom, irc.freedom.net. #Swift help is our nice, friendly, this is where all the new people should go. The only stupid questions you can ask in there are the ones that you could answer with Google search. Please use Google before you come ask us. It's annoying. There is #Swift, which is our older one. You've got a bunch of alumni hang out there. That one's more social, but it is not the friendliest. The links to 4chan get posted there, so the comparison to 4chan is warranted. And never, ever, ever do something that someone in #Swift told you to do unless you know what it does. Right?
RF tech, RF /
Yeah.
Deleting system 32 makes your internet connection faster.
Great examples of what not to listen to. Okay, so then, so. Yeah. Let's go get. Shut up, Swiss!
Words.
Thunderbar.
Let's get trolled some more.
Yeah, you go.
Uh, Very funny, Zero.
Why is it so slow?
Three. Yeah, funny, Zero. You got that stuff from before I changed it all. Anyway, so you can set up IRSSI so that it automatically connects to Freenode and joins whatever channels you want whenever you start it, so you don't have to type in the /connect, the /join. If you hold Alt and push the number keys or arrow keys, it will let you change between the windows and within IRSSI. But notice it says there's a 1 there that designates that I'm in window 1, and this says that there's activity on window 2, which is where, not that, which is where all this trolling is happening.
You see how you switch between?
Yeah, you hold Alt and then press a number key or an arrow key.
It's not always Alt, it's the meta key, which is sometimes.
Okay. It defaults to Alt.
How do you fucking run into these?
Okay, there's various ways. Anyway, so you can auto join this stuff. So, and if you register your nick, you can set it up so that it automatically identifies to Nixer, so you don't get kicked off your nick. But make absolutely sure if you do that your password for that goes to nothing else. Because if you do set it up to automatically identify to Nixer, you're saving your password in a text file. So anyone that gets access to that text file can read it. So, if we,
I use a new password for everything.
let's see, what do I have? Oh, you can, hold on, there's, notice up here, there's, it says 01 joined. You can ignore all those messages, because sometimes some of the channels get noisy. You /ignore, and then the channel name, and then the various levels that you want to ignore. You can ignore them for all channels by using star. You can remove ignores using dash. Again, screen, so this is, if you hold control and you hit A, D, it will detach your screen session. If you want to get out of IRSSI, but you don't want to close it, you want to still be logged into the server, and then you can do some more, you get back into the shell. And then if you do screen -DR, it will disconnect the screen session from anywhere that it's connected to and reconnect it to this terminal session, and you're right back in. And that is all really weird and not normal. And fixed by doing that. Okay. So,
Jason,
yes.
what if your screen's on Garrison and you log into Fluffy?
Oh, yeah. When you log in to login.cscommander.edu, it shunts you to either fluffy.unx.cscommander.edu or to Garrison. If your screen session is on the other one, you can't get to it. You can SSH directly to,
No, you
I
can
don't-
SSH between them.
What?
Yeah. SSH between
Oh,
them.
you can?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know how to do that.
We'll put the slides
So,
up
put the
on.
slides and I might add to them.
So, really briefly, if you're perhaps a little lost, this is all overwhelming, and, I mean, no one is gonna remember all those commands if they just saw them. I understand that. So what we're trying to do is give you kind of an overview of what's going on. If you're feeling a little confused, a little lost, it's okay. We're gonna put the slides on the website, and what you can do is you can use, either this technique, or you can go to our website, and we have an IRC link, and if you click on the IRC link, what it's gonna do is it's actually gonna allow you to have a little web interface that allows you to log on to Freenode and then Swift Help. So if you're not sure how to do something, or you're practicing at home and you get stuck, feel free to use the web interface to get on to Swift Help, and then we'll help you through this process, so that you can, interact with us. So we are pretty much out of time, but Swiss is going to do a really short overview of administration commands. So if you have to go for class, we understand. We'll be out in 5 minutes. Also, really briefly, JT has to bounce, so if you need to talk to us about membership, talk to Rainbows. And those things. Yeah, if you didn't sign in, please sign in.
Using Linux, you have to do a lot of stuff as an administrator. There's a couple ways to do this. One of the biggest things about administration is
Hey, if you're still here, please listen up.
when you're being an administrator, it's really important to make sure that the right people have the right privileges and that the wrong people don't. One way to control this is the command sudo. So sudo means super user do, and you put people in the sudoer file to give them sudo access. The other way is you don't have anybody in the sudoers file, and they can only log in as root. They can do that by SSHing in as root, logging in as root directly, or they can type SU for super user, and then they put in the super user password, and if they don't fat finger, they can get in. So that's now the super user. From here, I could use vsudo for V is a text editing program, and vsudo is showing me who has access where. So here I see that the user root has all privileges, and group sudo, because that's how they format it. The group sudo can all use the command. Also, when you're an administrator, you need to let more people onto your box and sometimes kick people off. You do this with, if it's installed, you use a command called add user, which nicely gives you prompts and stuff. Says, put in a name for the user, so I could add user Bob. And I put in a password, and it works. And then it has all the data on him. But the other way you can do it is user add and their name. So user add Jill. But the problem with user add is that you don't necessarily know that their password didn't get set there or anything like that. So if you add users on the system, always try that first, because it makes life a lot easier. Then if you want to get rid of them, like user add, you use user del, Jill, and I just deleted her user. She can't log in anymore. That's pretty much it. Oh, and then the two commands you saw earlier, chmod for like change the, I don't know what the mod stands for, but it's basically the permissions for the file. User plus right, group, or owner plus right, group plus right, stuff like that. Minus read, plus read, and it's pretty easy to use like that. And chown, which is chown for change the owner of the file. Alright, since we're short on time, I think that's about.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for coming. Let's give all our board members a big hand. And so, please, let's clear out quickly. There's a class coming in, so let's